Okay, can I have your attention, please? It looks like pretty much everybody has made their way through the breakfast line, so we can say a prayer of thanksgiving for that, and literally a thanksgiving to the members of the hospitality committee who have made this breakfast possible. Thank you. Hooray. So here is our agenda for the morning, and you have this on your tables as well. If you're watching online, then you there's a link at the bottom of the screen to find both the agenda for this meeting and the minutes from last year's meeting. You can bring that up at home if you want to do that. So first, we're going to have a prayer. Not that we haven't already prayed, but probably another prayer never hurts, right? The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Gracious God, thank you so much for this year that has passed and for the year ahead. Thank you for the hands and hearts and heads that have done ministry in this place and led us so well, and for the promise of what is to come. Bless our meeting today, bless our conversation, but particularly bless us to be your instruments of your kingdom. In Christ's name, amen. Okay, so there is that. Just a couple of housekeeping things and thank yous and such. If you would like to, people in the room, if you want to ask a question or make a comment at the times when we're doing that, there's a microphone in the middle of the room, standing up in the middle of the room, and that's where you can do comments and questions. For folks online, if you would like to make a comment or ask a question, you can do that by text or by comment on Facebook. The text number is the same number that we always use every Sunday. It's 816-312-5152. So if you want to say something as part of the meeting, just send that in, and someone will throw something at me to make me stop, and yeah, something like that. And another thank you, thank you for incredible effort to Adam James and Tom Vazella and Zach Beal for making the AV work. Hooray, hurrah. I am very, very grateful when it actually works. That's a marvelous thing. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is certifying a quorum. It always sort of cracks me up, but I always like to say it, that the bylaws of St. Andrews say that a quorum for an annual meeting is 10. Count them, 10 members qualified to vote, which means they're over 16, have a pledge, and have given regularly for 6 months. I hereby certify there are more than 10 people who meet those criteria in this room. All right. Like I said, the agenda is on the table. Is there a motion to approve the agenda for today? And seconded? Somebody seconded? Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Good deal. We have an agenda. Next we have the minutes from last year's meeting. Those minutes, like I say, are on the table and available through the live stream page of the website. Is there a motion to adopt those minutes? And a second? Second. Excellent. All in favor of adopting them? Any opposed? All right. And thank you there to Ann Goodrich, who is our completely, well, she doesn't get nearly the credit she deserves for what she does for the Vestry meetings month by month and for the minutes for this meeting. So thank you very much, Ann. Okay, on to thanking the outgoing Vestry members. So here they are, the outgoing Vestry members. I will try to refrain from waxing eloquent. Well, I don't know if it would be eloquent. Waxing long, because there's a lot that could be said about each of these people. But so Dorothy Curry first has been our Vestry liaison to the Outreach Commission, and modeled, like maybe I've never seen anybody ever model before, a willingness to take on one more thing. One more thing, always one more thing, to bring about the good of this place and God's kingdom and the world around us. And particularly, as I said at the Vestry meeting Tuesday, helping us to learn especially through Andy's Pantry, helping us to learn about not just helping, but building relationship with the people we're serving in the community around us. And for that, I say thank you very, very much, Dorothy. Then there is Victoria Fiore, who has been the liaison for young adult ministry. In the 3 years that really has come into its own, it was something that we did, but not something that we really recognized organizationally or really planned for explicitly in the way that we have begun to in these last 3 years. And under Victoria's leadership, young adult ministry has become a thing. It's become a very integral part of the parish's work, and a great example of crossing boundaries in ministry, in that the young adults are among those who consistently go out and do outreach work with one of our outreach partners. So thank you for building that and for all of your time, Victoria. Julia Jackson has been the liaison for children's ministry, which has, as you might imagine, been an incredibly tough assignment in the world of COVID, right? Things were going very, very well in kids ministry right up until the end of February of 2020, when everything came to a screeching halt. And so she and the Children's Ministry Commission have done a great job in building it and then pivoting to try to make it whatever it's going to be in the given COVID moment in which we find ourselves. So thank you so much to Julia for that work. Yay. Janet Kelly has been our liaison for the Endowment Commission, and she's done a wonderful job with that, and that would have been enough. But also, she has been one of the leaders among us figuring out how to bridge difference in terms of organizing the Advocacy Discernment Committee, the classes that we had in learning to listen to one another and talk about divisive issues, and creating a partnership arrangement or a liaison arrangement with St. James United Methodist Church, doing outreach work with them. So thank you to Janet for all of that work. There's then Ann Rainey. I'm sorry that Victoria and Ann and Paul's names are not on the screen. They were earlier this morning, and the slide grew, and I don't know why. Anyway, so Ann has been our liaison to the Discernment Commission, which is a thing that not many churches have, actually, a standing group that works with people to listen for the voice of God. Those are people discerning holy orders, but also just like people coming through the marriage prep process and people who want to get some assistance listening to God in whatever major issues going on in their life. So she has led that beautifully, is going to continue working both on our commission and the Diocesan Commission on Ministry, which will be a great blessing to them, having Ann there. And she, as I was saying, with Janet, Ann has worked with Janet really as one of the leaders of our process of learning to listen to one another, discerning how to have civil discourse, how to have conversation about what should be the church's response to divisive issues of the day. And on top of all that has been just a wonderful presence on executive committee, giving a non-anxious presence in situations that can often be challenging. So thank you to Ann for all that. And the last member of the class of 2022 is Paul Worth, who is sitting up here as treasurer. He has been treasurer and been the liaison for the Finance Commission, and has proven himself to be as good at that as he has been in adult formation and engagement, which he's previously served on Vestry as liaisons for. And blessedly, Paul's work, as you will hear in a minute, will continue because he's willing to serve as treasurer again. Praise God. Yay! So for that whole class, let's have a round of applause for everybody part of the class of 2022. And then the life of the vestry goes on. We have then the nominations, or the report of the vestry nominating committee for the next class to be elected. I always say this just because it's a good thing to say out loud. Our bylaws provide for a process of, after the vestry nominating committee does its work, our bylaws provide that there can be nominations through a petition process, and that was in the bulletin for week after week after week after week in November and December. There was no petition received, so the nominations that we have are the nominations from the vestry nominating committee. And there are those lovely people, and I will read you the report from Melissa Rock as the vestry nominating committee's report. First, she thanks Bert Darling, Scott Kermer, Victoria Fiore, and Kyle Russell for their service on the nominating committee. She says, we now present to you the vestry class of, this is 2025, Guy Creveling, representing the Endowment Commission, Whitney Carter from the Children's Ministry Commission, Kayla Lawrence from the 20s and 30s Commission, Jason Anglin from the Finance Commission, and Gene Keeney from the Outreach Commission. So that report from the committee is a motion to elect, I would say. Is there a second to that motion? And a third, and a fourth. That's lovely. Any discussion? So all in favor of electing these 5 lovely people as the vestry class of 2025, say aye. Aye. Woo! Nicely done. We'll figure that's acclamation. Oop, sorry. I guess I shouldn't have whooped into the microphone. My apologies. I don't know if that was the sound system or what. Okay. So we have a vestry class going forward, and thank you very much to those 5 people willing to do this work. It can be, often is, deeply meaningful work, and certainly is necessary for us making our way forward. So thank you for that. Next is thanking the people who have served as parish officers this year. So these are the folks from the current, from 2022, and you'll see not a lot of change from this slide to the next. I should say, to know how these people get there. According to our bylaws, the rector appoints the senior warden. That is an appointed position for 1 year to the next. And the vestry elects the treasurer, the secretary, the chancellor, and the junior warden. So that's how those people come to their positions. This past year, Bill Aliber, there at the end of the stage, has served as senior warden. As I said, Ann Rainey has been junior warden. Paul Worth has been treasurer. Ann Goodrich, as I said, has been secretary. And Greg Bentz has served as chancellor. So a great thank you to the 5 of them, please. So for 2022, also in the category of praising God, we have many of the same faces on this slide. I am very pleased to be able to reappoint Bill Aliber to be senior warden for 1 more year. Hooray, hurrah. It has been a tremendous, these last 2 years it's just been great working together. The partnership has been wonderful. His leadership has been wonderful, and would have been anyway, but my goodness, through COVID, this is the man you want by your side through COVID. I really appreciate, no, seriously, your confidence and your clarity and your humor and your grace in leadership. So thank you for signing on one more time. So that exhausts what I get to do by fiat. The rest of it is elected by vestry. But I can tell you I'm happy to be able to share that, as I said, Paul Worth is willing to stand again for election as treasurer. And Ann Goodrich is willing to stand again for election as secretary. And Greg Bentz is willing to stand again for election as chancellor. For junior warden, as Ann Rainey is making her way off vestry, I have learned that Susan Painter is willing to stand for election for junior warden. Other people can if they want to from the current vestry. No one has said they want to. So my hunch is it's a pretty good chance that Susan Painter will be the next junior warden. But none of that is official until the Vestry retreat. But yes, thank you all to them. Okay, and those elections will happen officially at the retreat on February 12th. So we'll check that box at that point. And now we have the lightning fast, as I hear it, Senior Warden's report from Bill Aliber.
Greg Benz told me that the best senior warden reports are the shortest, so I will take advantage of that advice. I really just have two things to say. I guess three. Thanks, John, for the opportunity to work with you again next year, this year. Really just two thank yous, and I'll read the names so I don't forget somebody, but as Ann and I put in the bulletin, really thank you to John, Mother Ann, Deacon Bruce, Dr. Tom, Zach, Nina, Mary, Robert, Martin, Kim, Adam, Jean, Ashley, Lauren, Sarah, and Alice. That's the team that keeps the wheels on the bus at St. Andrews, and they do a really great job. And we are all really, really fortunate that they're our team. So I think in the spirit of rounds of applause, we should thank all of them. And then the second thank you is obviously to all of you, those here, those online, those that are here in spirit, I guess. One of the great advantages of this role as senior warden is you get a little look behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz, and the tremendous generosity of the parish. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Paul will talk about the financial generosity, but the generosity exceeds just the dollars. Your time and your talent that you give on a consistent basis, it's incredibly impressive. And I'm really hopeful next year when we're having this report, and I'm giving the outgoing senior wardens report, please. Thank you. That we're looking back at a year that is a little less full of COVID, but it will undoubtedly be full of all of yours generosity. So thank you very much, and look forward to have a great 2022.
Thank you. The next report is from Ann. Rainey, Ann, do you want to come up on the stage to sit, or do you want to speak at the microphone on the floor? What do you prefer?
I can do it right here.
Okay. If it needs to be adjusted, just...
All right.
Here.
Except I might be too short.
Well, here,
but
yeah,
we'll
Sarah,
see.
would you...
Anyway,
well,
I have a pretty good projecting voice, and it's right that I would be sitting out there because the junior warden is the people's warden. So it was fitting for me to be out there. Over the Christmas season, can you hear it? Over the Christmas season, thank you, hon. I heard a verse in one of our readings from 1 John, which was, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it." And I just really reflected on that. It struck me because it's so much said what I believe the people of St. Andrews have done in truly difficult and adverse times. And I love the word tribulation was in the procession hymn. Did you hear that? Well, we've had tribulations of biblical proportion for sure. So it just is really moving to me. I want to mention briefly the special project that we did with the Advocacy Discernment Committee. And somebody said the other day something about, oh yeah, that's right, that was all about social injustice. And that was the topic, but it really wasn't the process of what we were trying to do. So I want to say a little bit about that. And one of the things we tried to do is to take a look at how, as a people, we fit in with the national church. And we did that by reading a book by our presiding bishop. And then we took a class about how to get a toolbox together, a toolbox that we could use to feel closer to each other in times when we did not agree. And then we, with our little magic toolbox, which had the most magical tool in it of all, which is learning to listen to people with compassion and empathy and with curiosity. And with that toolbox, then, we had a class asking the most difficult questions about things that we could all have tremendous arguments about. But we didn't do that. We used our toolbox to listen to what we were as a people, and to listen to what we wanted our church to be. And that just, I really believe we didn't probably change anybody's mind, but that wasn't the point. The point was the process that we learned to love each other through our differences, and we can carry that on out to the community around us in the world. So anyway, that saying in the Bible that we heard about the light, I really believe the light is shining brightly here. So my message to St. Andrew's people, shine on.
Thank you very much, Ann. That process through this past year was just so life-giving, I have to say. I mean, those of you who were involved in those civil discourse classes and the discussion of what should be the church's role in various issues, there was power in those discussions, and I'm grateful, very grateful to Ann for evoking that for us. Thank you. Okay, next is the 2021 financial results and the budget for this current year. And for that, Treasurer Paul Worth.
Good morning. I apologize for the fact that the financial slides that I presented didn't translate well to a large screen, so I'm going to give you the narrative of financial information. I will say that those of you who would like a copy of the income statement and the budget numbers, if those are meaningful for you to have, if you call the church office, I can arrange to have those sent to you electronically or by mail. I have them right here. But to kind of go off of what started this morning at the pulpit and what's been talked about here, when we talk about stewardship, we obviously speak about time, talent, and treasure, and in my neck of the woods, we stew and fret over the treasure part. But I can tell you that, at least in 2021, that if it's our goal to put money towards being a force for good with ourselves and within the community, did we have enough financial resources to be a force for good? The answer to that is a resounding yes. And I'll just kind of highlight a couple of results that quantify that a little bit better here. First of all, congregational giving. We're real familiar with the pledge campaign, and most of our income that comes from the congregations comes through the pledge program. Also, there are many individuals who give one-time gifts to the operating budget. It's kind of their approach is one check and it's on the way. And the combination of both pledge giving and the one-time giving resulted in about $180,000 more than what the Finance Committee had budgeted for. So so to that, we obviously say thank you so much. Some other examples of things kind of coming a little bit out of the shadows are HJ's revenue. 2020 was just a really difficult year. It was shut down. Well, we're slowly and surely we're opening the doors back up, and so our HJ's revenue grew by about 3 times over what it was in 2020. And overall, this was the year that generosity trumped everything. So all in all, there was about $220,000 over budget, or about 12% above and beyond expectations. So great news on the revenue front. On the expenses, the same thing kind of comes through, just the opposite way. The operating budget, if you just kind of look at it in a big picture point of view, is we spend about $2 million keeping the lights on and the missions going forward. So it's not a small amount of money. So managing the expense side of things is important. And year over year, and certainly this year, managing the expenses, the staff just does a beautiful job. All of the ministry budgets came in right on target. The facilities budget and the challenge that they have was only $11,000 above and beyond what we had planned for. Our worship expense was greater than what we thought it would be, but that was intentional. We decided that we had the resources to make investments, to make online worship and engagement within the parish. We said, go forth and do good, and they opened up the checkbook and did good. So that was great to see. So overall, our budgeted expenses compared to expectations were literally within budget of less than 1% to the good. So talk about hitting it on the mark. They did a great job. So when you have a $220,000 generosity result and budgets come in on the expense side on time, that means we had a surplus. And what a surplus means to an organization such as ourselves is, to me, surplus means we have opportunity. And so that carries forward into 2022. Our operating budget is in excess of $300,000 to start the new year. So congratulations to everyone who were part of making that happen. So what's ahead, real quick? Anytime that you have a year that we had in terms of revenue, you don't want to say, well, let's just double that. That's a little bit unrealistic. But what we did tell ourselves in the Finance Commission that we would work towards increasing what our revenue projections was by about 5% for 2022. So the operating budget doesn't change a whole lot from what we did in 2021. We've added, as Father mentioned, the ministry outreach campaign hopefully will bring us a new staff member. So we've added another staff position sometime probably mid-year maybe. That's to be seen, but it's in there. So, and then we also made sure that our wages and our benefits to the great staff that Bill communicated about, the payroll and the benefits, we increased those wages to make sure that our staff is keeping pace with inflation. So total revenue for 2022, we hope will increase by about 4% in all of those categories. On the expense side, there's some good news. As I said, the surplus brings opportunity. Besides the 5% raised pool that we just mentioned, the outreach program we hope to increase by almost 50%. The same with formation, up by about 47%. All the other ministries, we're going to go back and look at we look back at 2019 and what was our ministry budgets pre-COVID, and we said, why don't we just restore them to those levels? And facilities are going to go up by about 14% because that's just what happens with facilities. We have rainforest events, things that are beyond our control. But Zach has done a tremendous job in terms of putting together the maintenance book of all the air conditioners, refrigerators, and all the things that, you know, we all don't think are very glamorous, but they're very, very important to keeping our ministries going. So Our expenses we anticipate them to go up by about 13% in 2022. So our net income is still going to be, we're going to still forecast a positive net income. We've been conservative in revenue, more bullish on expenses, and if I know St. Andrews as I'm getting to know the financial side of St. Andrews, we'll deliver on those promises and it'll be a great year again. Thank you.
So are there any questions or comments on financial performance or budget coming up? Yeah, Jenny, will you mind going to the microphone back there, so that people in the room can hear, but also so that the people watching the live stream can hear the questions and comments?
But is there any thought in the budget of a new appliances and refrigerator and freezer for this kitchen?
I think let me see if I heard you correctly. What you were asking is,
It would be a new stove, ovens, refrigerator, and freezer for this kitchen.
Basically, the downstairs kitchen would get new appliances and stoves to operate better.
Good.
And thankfully, to bail me out on that question, Scott is here and can ask.
Oh, good.
Hooray for Scott Kermer! Yay! Scott is the facilities vestry liaison.
The answer is yes. If you look in the book, the report out there, you'll see that we have future projects that we're looking to do, and the kitchen is one of those. It may start this year. What we need to do is we want to get the right group in to assess what's the best way to redo the kitchen, not just start in and throw money, but we want to assess it and go about it the right way and make it as functional as we can. And we also have found that we believe that some of the equipment in there could be refurbished and wouldn't have to be replaced. So we want to look at it and use the money wisely and meet the needs. Understand.
Thank you. I appreciate the question and the response. Thank you, Jenny. Really, that's a great, because you're not the only person who has asked about that. We know it needs to happen. It's a matter of can we, and maybe, I don't know if this is the case, but priest math, which is always dangerous. If we don't have water incursions, if we don't have X, Y, and Z, there's money in there that we could put there instead. My hunch is because we probably don't want to bank on the water incursion not happening. That wouldn't happen like next month. It probably would happen later in the year that we'd be deciding to spend it that way. But that's a great question. Thank you. Other thoughts or questions on the financial results or the budget? Okay. Anything coming in from online world? No? Okay, great. Just didn't want to pass over. So the vestry has approved, just for process, the vestry has adopted the 2022 budget, so that has already happened, and we are going forward with that. So anyway, Paul, thank you very much for the work, and to the Finance Commission for the work on developing all this, and thank you so much to you all. A year where we come in with $200,000 of surplus is astonishing, especially in COVID. So bless you all, and thank you all for that. And now, as like I said in the sermon, one of the priorities we've had this year, among the boundaries we've been seeking to beat, are boundaries in how do we be a parish, how do we worship, how do we do parish life on two platforms? How do we be in person and be online and have both of them count equally, right? So Adam James is, in addition to being a parishioner, and is our worship technology coordinator, and is going to just give he's going to bring you up to date on what's happened in this year in terms of empowering us to be able to make online church a thing, right?
I brought a clipboard because I made notes. So, good morning to all of you. It's good to see you all here, and it's good to be here in front of you. As you know, the last year from the beginning of 2021 was really a big change for us when it came to making church happen online for people. This was really the professional era of our live streaming as new equipment came in around Christmas of last year, and we implemented our second camera for the Feast of Epiphany last year, I believe on the 3rd of January, and so we could see the Kings process in all their glory. And we quickly realized how much more we could do when we had more than one camera that was aimed just at the pulpit. So we moved into putting graphics on screen for last year's annual meeting because it was mostly at home for people that couldn't attend in order to gain a quorum. We started using software called ProPresenter in order to bring graphics to the screen, because as Lent started, we realized how important it was to put some liturgical text on the screen. I did an informal survey of many of you over the winter last year and asked you, how many of you are opening the bulletins at home on a second screen with a tablet or your computer or your smartphone? And exactly, Jenny, you're right, exactly. It's a lot of work and it's tedious, enough as it is just to worship at home through the screen, but then to get a copy of the bulletin at the same time. So our effort shifted towards putting as much of the prayers and the scripture and the words along with the sermon slides that we have been doing onto the screen, so that way you could just focus on being present virtually with us and praying alongside with us. Throughout Lent, we prepared for the idea of people coming back to in-person worship, and that was a little bit scary for us on the tech team because we were working off of a 6-foot folding table in the columbarium, which I want you to know it was equally as uncomfortable for us as it probably was for those of you who were there to visit your loved ones. Thank you for letting us have that space. But I have to tell you, it was a wonderful experience to be right there, a part of worship. There are now, I had to write it down, there are now 7 of us on the Volunteer Tech Guild. And I say us, them. And our members of the Tech Guild have computer skills, broadcasting skills, theatrical experience, working behind the scene in theater, and those are things that are necessary to make what we're doing happen. And in our Episcopal denomination, we're uncomfortably forced to do this because COVID showed up in our lives. But the other denominational churches have been doing this for a long time, and we're now learning how to do it and how to do it our way, with respect to our tradition and our liturgy, and to bring that experience to people that are home. Because we've gained membership. We have people that participate regularly. There were 2 groups of people I wanted to talk about. Speaking of, community and how we're growing in the church in this coming year. We've developed 2 vibrant communities of ministry. One is our online worshiping church, really, that pray at 8 o'clock a.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. on a daily basis together, come to church virtually with us on Sunday mornings, interact with each other in the chat comment bars, pray for each other, have formed friendships together. And the other group is our Tech Guild. We love serving the way we serve, bringing church to people outside of our 4 walls. 1 foot in the church and 1 foot in the world. And many of you know I'm in seminary to become a deacon, so I see a very diaconal connection between what we're doing with the live stream by getting our church out there and getting out there in here. We're getting it done. One more thing, when Trailside started, we tried something new that we've never done. We put everything on a screen in the room for people that worship in that contemporary space. And it acts as a virtual bulletin for people on the wall right there. And they're able to sing along with the worship music from our wonderful praise band across the street. They're able to pray along with the prayers that are led and read the scripture. So these are some of the wonderful things we've done as we've moved into our permanent tech desk in the back of the nave, a little more convenient for the columbarium. And in reality, we're looking at how can we improve things. I want to personally thank all of you for your patience as we have grown and overcome challenges along the way. First, those challenges were just keeping the internet on the air so we could have a live stream at the beginning of 2020. And now we're working through some sound issues. We've overcome some things manually. We have some new equipment coming to help us with those things down the road. So thank you all for your virtual participation.
So I'm coming down here because Charlie Horner and I are going to recognize the new Legacy Society members. As Charlie is coming up, I just want to thank him. As you look at the Endowment Commission report in the annual report, you will see just astonishing work that's happened since, it was 2017? 2017 when we began the Legacy Society. I mean, sometimes you don't have to look at it right this minute, but and Charlie will probably share some of this, but the growth in both the membership of the Legacy Society and the endowment itself is amazing in a really short time, and it's because of the leadership of Charlie and others on the Endowment Commission who have invested themselves in making that vehicle of ensuring the church's future a priority. So thank you very much to Charlie for that work. Now, do you want to go first? I think you should. Oh, I'll go. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here. And as an elderly person, I've been sheltering at home for 2 years. So I especially appreciate Adam James and his committee. It's been a wonderful improvement in the experience, and I think our financial results reflect very much the ability of our church to communicate with our parishioners. So thank you for that wonderful service. The St. Andrew's Endowment is really the third leg of our stool as far as our financial production. It's a little different than the annual pledges and the gifts that are received and capital campaigns that we've had, because this is the focus on long-term legacy giving, where we're inviting members of the parish to consider making a gift to St. Andrew's in their will that will be put into the endowment fund, which is managed by the Community Foundation. When we started this effort, we had wonderful leadership from the group that was before us, and we conceived on the Endowment Commission the idea of forming a legacy society to invite parishioners to consider making a testamentary or possibly a lifetime gift to the church that could help underwrite the work of our church for generations to come. When we started that effort, we had about $1,500,000 in our endowment fund. It's grown the last 4 years to almost $2,700,000. This year we distributed $90,000 from the endowment fund to the church, and I think it's important to know, if you make a legacy gift, will there be an impact, and what would be an example? And I think this year is a perfect example of that $90,000. We received a generous gift from one of our parishioners that helped begin the plans for the Trailside Ministry. That cost was about $90,000. The gift was about $20,000. So the $90,000 distribution went to help underwrite the foundation for the videos and the other arrangements for the Trailside Ministry, and about another $20,000 went to the James campaign to expand our outreach. So just a wonderful example. Our Legacy Society began with 0 members. We now have 96 parishioners who have agreed to consider and make a testamentary, a lifetime gift, and that represents 61 families, so we're very gratified. If you're interested in learning about the Legacy Society, I'd be happy to chat with you. Father John.
thank you very much, Charlie. This is obvious, but just to say it out loud, I mean, in addition to the benefit that comes to the church from the endowment, from the generosity of the Legacy Society members, it's also an opportunity for them to express their spiritual life. I mean, giving is a spiritual act, and endowing a gift or endowing the work of the church into the future is a way to help, of course, continue the church's ministry, but also a way to continue to give. And that's no small thing. That's a marvelous thing to be able to continue to practice stewardship in the ways that have become integral to our discipleship in this first chapter of our eternal lives. That can continue once we find ourselves in the columbarium instead. Anyway, so up on the screen you see the names of the folks who have joined the Legacy Society in this year, and Father Jerry Kolb and Brenda Kolb, they are here in the room. So would you come up and we could give you your certificate? You have, well, I can bring it out to you, but if you come up here, then the folks at home can see your smiling faces, so that's always good. Just, here, come on. There you go. And I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for doing this. And Rhea Winslow, I think, is also here in person. Rhea, are you here? Do you want to come up so we can give you this? I'm sorry, I should have asked you to sit closer to the microphone or to the front. And while Rhea's making her way up, let me also just recognize Harriet Cokier and Lindley Marcotte and Graham Hunt, who also have joined in this past year. They are at home as opposed to being here in the room. So welcome to our phygital world. But thank you to the three of them as well. Ray, I'm sorry to make you take the long walk, but thank you so much for doing this. I'm very grateful. Okay, so I don't have a slide for this last one. This is, nearly last. This is the time that is most fun for me, which is the presentation of the Rector's crosses. I have a confession I have to make, a confession of a failure I need to tell you about, which is that in everything that we did to get ready for this morning, the one thing I didn't do was actually get the Rector's crosses out of the safe. So they're still up there in the safe, but we will recognize the people who are getting them, and if they will hang on for 5 minutes after the meeting is over, I will go get them and bring them back down here and actually give you the cross, because it's not just, it's not a virtual thing, it's a physical thing. The Rector's cross is a physical thing. So first, I want to remind you, I guess, of the Rector's cross for this year that was given early, which was to Mary Sanders. Mary is here this morning. Would you stand up wherever you are, Mary? Woo! Yay! So we recognize Mary at St. Andrew's Sunday, which was her not quite final day. That was the intent. Turned out not to be quite her final day at St. Andrews. But Mary is, I know, enjoying retirement and time with grandkids and all that. But we are just as I said in November, deeply grateful to you for all that you have done to bless this place in the 15 years you've been here. So we won't do that again, and won't make you cry again or make me cry again. So that's good. So the second Rector's Cross being presented this year is to Scott Kermer. So in all of your spare time, as you're looking at the annual report, be sure to look at pages 25 to 26 of the annual report, because it's astonishing what the Facilities Commission has been doing in this past year, and particularly what this man has been leading in this past year. This seems like it was years ago, but the year began with the replacement of the parking lot, for goodness sake. You want a major project that requires a lot of ongoing tending and caring and supervising. That's the parking lot qualifies for that. But that was just the start. We replaced, not replaced rather, maintained the stained glass windows on the west side of the building, did cleaning and repair of the stonework on the exterior of the building. And then December 15th, I don't know if you remember or not, but there was this lovely windstorm that we had here in Kansas City on December 15th that managed to damage a drain on the roof above the children's chapel that led to yet another water incursion. Oh boy, we love water here at St. Andrews. Just because Andrew was a fisherman doesn't mean that we need to have water in the building. So, okay, so those are major things. Then there are 28 other projects listed in the report on those pages for things that Scott and facilities have been dealing with and improving over this year. There also was a day. There was just a particular day that comes to mind for me that illustrates Scott's willingness to be who he is in this work. We had a ransomware attack on the church's computers. It wasn't anything we had done. All of the clients of our IT provider suffered the same thing at the same time. We were among them. Scott, who does IT for a living, Scott took the day off work, came here, and spent the entire day working with Zach and working with our IT folks to try to figure out how to get us out of the mess that the attack had put us into. Got that done, was here all day, longer than I was here that day. But it just illustrates the heart. It illustrates the commitment of this marvelous person that you just wouldn't know, you wouldn't see what he does, right? Because it just is just the operation of the church. But it means so much. So anyway, I will stop talking. Thank you so much.
I just want to say thank you very much. Sorry, it caught me totally off guard. It's been a rough year on a personal front too, but I have to give so much credit to Zach Bill, who's our director of operations here. He does an amazing job, and we couldn't do what we do and what we get done here if it wasn't for him. So please stand up, Zach, because you're as much of this as anyone.
And thank you and blessings to Gene Long, who went up and got the rector's crosses. Yay! So you actually get one. Absolutely. Thank you, Scott. So the third cross this year goes to somebody. I'm not sure whether she is here or online, but Lenny Carrier. Lenny, are you here in person? I hadn't seen you yet today. I am hoping you are there. I'm hoping you're online. I was trying to find out whether she was going to be here today, and I didn't find out. So anyway, some of you, probably hanging art. That's right. Sorry. Some of you will know that Lenny is an artist. Lenny loves art, and Lenny is the person responsible for bringing into being the art exhibitions that are a constant presence at HJ's now. When we created the building, this seemed like a good thing we could do. We could have art exhibitions. That'd be cool. Well, things don't move out of the realm of that would be cool without somebody like Lenny, who at this point has put together 15 or so exhibitions in that space and turned us into a venue for local artists. And a marvelous opportunity to share their work and for us to build relationship with them, with the artistic community, with our neighborhoods. It's a great example of opening ourselves up to those who are not yet our members, like I was saying in the sermon. I mean, it's a great microcosm of that. And Lenny's work has been ridiculous, wonderful in that. I mean, it's almost a single-handed thing. From recruiting the exhibitors, the artists themselves, coordinating the hanging of the art on the walls, coordinating the receptions, getting the word out about the receptions, managing the sales. And the sales from those shows, 30% of that comes here, comes back to St. Andrews. So just on so many levels, missionally, financially, aesthetically, Lenny has blessed us greatly. So I'm sorry she's not here, but please give her a hand. And then finally, the last one for this year is Ann Rainey. So you've heard, I mean, here, you don't have to stand in the screen's light here. You already heard both of us speak, actually, about some of the most important things that have been happening in this year. And so you know about her work on the Discernment Commission. You know about her work in helping us figure out how to bridge difference, how to have hard conversations, how to listen in love to one another. What the rest of you didn't get is the experience of meeting after meeting, which I'm sorry about that, but the experience of meeting after meeting, of being blessed by that same love, that same passion, that same clarity of purpose that expressed itself in the advocacy discernment process and all that and those conversations, but then just brought into the life of the church week by week by week through our work on the executive committee. The junior warden is part of the executive committee team. And having Ann there for that, as part of that, just was a constant blessing, a constant reminder that listening to one another, that being present to one another is the heart of what we do here, right? And I have been tremendously blessed by your gift to us of modeling how we should be that way. So thank you. I'm sorry for the tacky plastic bag, but it's kind of what we got. Absolutely. Okay, so that's the business. The last thing on the agenda is just for the good of the order. I had one thing to note about that myself, which is, and I think I pretty much say this every year, but diocesan convention. This is your opportunity to be involved in the work of the church beyond us, beyond the parish. Every year our diocese gathers in convention, representatives of the congregations gather in convention, first weekend in November, and it's, approving budgets and that sort of thing. But it's also this wonderful opportunity to experience the church beyond us. That we're more than a congregational denomination. The congregation is really important, and we're connected in lots of ways. And there's a report in the annual, there's a write-up in the annual report about our intersection and interaction with the diocese. But you had the chance to be part of that by being a delegate to diocesan convention. We have some people who have said they want to do that again from last year, and that's fabulous. There are several open positions too. So if you are interested, I would encourage you to read that report about the ministries of the diocese. And if you'd like to serve as a delegate, please let me know. So just that's enough. Just let me know. And I think that's it. Is there anything else anybody wants to raise for the good of the order? Going once, going twice. How about one more thank you to the hospitality group for breakfast? Hooray, hurrah. So if we're ready to head out, there's Mother Ann. Mother Ann, would you come up and send us out with a prayer? And Deacon Bruce, wherever you are, if you want to be ready to send us out afterwards, that would be great too.
I don't want you to be frightened and think that I've got a very long prayer here. As you may have noticed, I'm having trouble seeing, so I've got large print. Is Bruce coming up? Oh, okay.
He'll just
All right. Okay, good. Let us pray. Holy One, gratefully we gathered this day, both here and live streamed. We are, after all, hybrid. We gathered for more than solace or ceremony, more than duty and responsibility. We gathered as the young. We gathered as the grown and as the seasoned ones. Together in love, together dedicated to this church we call St. Andrew's, we came mindful of those who went before and those who shall create the future. We gathered for more than business, sustenance, and tribute, for more than to plan, to dream, and to hope. And in the winter's cold darkness, we discovered gestation and promise. New life beckons. We came for courage, and we came to encourage. We came to celebrate and to delight, to raise up and reach out. Yet now is time to depart, to share oneness with heaven and earth, in spirit and in flesh. We leave blessed to be a blessing of love to one another and to the other. Blessed to reveal the real presence of our Lord Jesus in our living and our praying and our giving. In the name of our one gracious and loving God, we go forth. Amen.
Thank you all for being here. Have a lovely time, and go Chiefs!
I know you got to do all sorts of things. So, yeah, I got to go